Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Anzisha Prize It Starts With You campaign. I'm your host, Kondwani Gabriela Banda. I'm an entrepreneur and Anzisha fellow from Zambia. So today I'll be joined by an amazing entrepreneur from Uganda. Her name is Vanessa Ishimwe, and she is here with us to join us. Vanessa?
Hey, hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here too. Vanessa is an amazing entrepreneur. She is from Uganda and she is a social entrepreneur who I look up to as well as a fellow and entrepreneur. And she is one of the focus of the It Starts With You campaign, which is a campaign by the Anzisha Prize, hosting 8 amazing, very young entrepreneurs from across the continent. This is a campaign that's centered on their journeys and what behaviors they cultivated in order to attain the level of success that they have. So without further ado, we're just going to watch Vanessa's story and sit tight as we look into Vanessa's entrepreneur journey.
Yenye lituleta hapa ni insecurity kwenye tulikuwa naishi kila siku, mauaji. Lakini maisha ile nilikuwa nayo kule na huku inapishana. Juu ya huku tuko na gonjwa saa zote. Kisha na chakula ni moya, kuna tuko na wabadilisha chakula. Maragi everyday. Nimeitwa kwa jina la Mariamu Rosette. Niko naishi hapa Sweswe na watoto sawa damuani. Niko natumika kazi ya kilimo juu ya watoto kusudi tupate chakula kunyumba na masomo basome. Niko na furaha kwa juu watoto wangu wiko nasoma hapa mu Uganda na wanapata edukasyon ya mzuri.
Many people in our communities in this refugee settlement come from different countries: Congo, Burundi, Rwanda, a few from Somalia, Ethiopia, and Sudan. But many of them run from political instabilities, wars, hunger, famine, and poverty. And some don't pick up, like they don't get used to the environment very quickly. Hi, my name is Ishimwe Vanessa. I am 23 years old and I am here to say it starts with you. Ça commence avec toi. My project or my organization is called Youth Initiative for Development in Africa. We started with a school for little children, and we also do entrepreneurship trainings for young people between the age of 15 to 30 years old. In this school, we have designed the curriculum that is flexible to fit the needs of the children in the refugee camp. We pick our teachers from the community, so they speak the language of these children, unlike other schools which speak a different language from what these refugee children speak. I was inspired to start a social impact business simply because I was also one of those people that needed the help. At first I was in school and then dropped out because I didn't have enough money to pay for my school fees. And then I realized it wasn't only me. Starting from the little children to youths, many people do not access education. And after realizing it and coming out of it, I realized there are so many other people who need the help that I needed. Therefore, I started this social impact business. The kind of parents we have in this community are mostly refugee parents who earn their money from getting monthly ratios from WFP and UNHCR, and others from farming, from cultivating maize, beans, different food crops to survive. And each parent of these children contributes 15,000 Ugandan shillings to help us run the school, and they also contribute 5 kilograms per child to help us cook porridge for the children while they are at school.
Tulisikia furaha mbele masomo iko bie juko karibu na nyumba. Juu hata kuna kwa shida fulani banakuita pa masomo unaenda na regle na balimu. Maana ya masomo kwa watoto wangu premièrement kusaidia famille mwenye tunaishi mie bo famille biologique.
Looking backwards, Youth Initiative for Development in Africa has come from a very, very far place. We started with 53 children studying under a tree, and then to a church, and then to a community shed, and now to a classroom. And from 53 children, we are now at 450 children, and we believe that we are going to educate as many children as we can in this community of Chakatu Refugee Settlement. We would like to have as many as 1,000, 1,500 or 2,000 from nursery to primary 7, and who knows, maybe in the future secondary as well. We engage our community, the parents, to come and help us when we have cleaning days, construction in the gardens. We also have entrepreneurship trainings. This training aims at giving young people the skills to get their ideas into business projects. And we also help people, young people with businesses, to help them scale their businesses, to help them define them in a proper way so that they can source funding and grants in the future. I have seen one particular individual grow. I have followed him up myself. He comes to me and even asks me for advice most of the time. He's very talented at doing what he does. He makes arts and crafts, but he didn't know how to sell them. He would just make them, keep them at home. And he has learned that whatever he makes, he has to sell it.
Niko mambo wa Yida na pisikia wakati Yida ilipata hiyo opportunity kupatana na Idea for Africa, na mimi nilipata kwa hiyo information kule, na nilikuwa sijaanza kwa sababu nilikuwa najua vitu lakini sikukuwa siyakuwa na ujuzi wa kukua kwa kujua gisi napasha anza hiyo vitu ambayo kuitia kwenye action. Singisoma kule na Yida, sometimes ningelikuwa niko tu just na mimi kala sababu le benzetu ba jene bila kutumikisha talanta zao.
Hiyo mafunzo ambayo tuliweza kupata pamoja na wenzangu ili tusaidie na katupatia akili ya kujua business gani ambayo tunaweza tukalete na tunaweza tukailete wanani na mahali gani ambapo tunaweza tukafanyizie business. Sasa ndio tukaona kwamba Yida ilitusaidia sababu ilituletea Idea for Africa kusudi itusaidie kurahisisha gisi ya kufanya business yetu.
Entrepreneurship is one way of getting youth to come from job seekers to being job creators for other fellow youths. Therefore, our intervention for this is now entrepreneurship trainings to the young people. Training young people is about every job opportunity created each time these young people start up businesses, since young people employ young people, henceforth creating a ripple effect. Well, in the future, we would like to train more young people in entrepreneurship to create more businesses, hence creating more job opportunities for other young people, and hence developing the community step by step.
Hello, and that was an amazing video and amazing story of Vanessa Ishimwe. For those who just joined us, welcome to yet another episode of the Anzisha It Starts With You campaign, a campaign looking at 8 amazing, very young entrepreneurs from across the continent and how their behavior, what behaviors they had to cultivate in order for them to attain the level of success. Today, we're looking at Vanessa Ishimwe, a young leader and amazing social entrepreneur, and the founder of Yida, an organization that cultivates it helps empower young people through education and entrepreneurship. And Vanessa, please join the conversation again. I'm sure a lot of people are eager to hear from you. And if you have any questions at all during the conversation and interview, please do use the Q&A functions to type in your questions, and I will ask them later on during the interview.
Thank you very much once again for having me here. I'm so excited to take on this conversation. Thank you.
Yes, Vanessa, I think what you're doing is amazing. Going from starting a school from underneath a tree to having over 450 students under your school is just fantastic, and it's phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
So how would you define social entrepreneurship, and how is it different from regular entrepreneurship?
Well, I would say social entrepreneurship is like being in the business of identifying your community's needs and working on them, and finding solutions that can help you solve those needs. And it's only different from regular entrepreneurship because it's the main focus here is not the profit, but the main focus is it's not the profit of the entrepreneurs themselves, but the profit of and the benefit that the entire community gets from the person finding the solutions to the needs that are facing the community.
Right, right. And how did you discover that entrepreneurship was the thing that was going to help you achieve everything that you wanted to achieve for your community?
Well, in the beginning, when I was studying, I didn't even call it entrepreneurship. It was a youth group trying to find solutions to the problems that we were facing ourselves, in our families, and in our community. And later it grew for me to understand that it is actually entrepreneurship. I just knew I had to solve a problem, and apparently that is entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Yes. How did you, I just wonder how you went from before you started your initiative to actually having the courage to building or to forming a whole school where you're educating other people.
Yeah, well, I couldn't have done it alone, by the way. It's all the help of the co-founders, the entire community at large. When we first had our first class under a tree, and then later into a church, and then later into a community shed, the community was watching us, and they were really rooting for us, and they helped us a lot. They themselves, we had parents and people from the community come and set up the first classroom that we had, which is still existing right now. So it was mainly because of the support from the community that I was able to come this far.
Right, right. As somebody who was marginalized, do you think that you provided a better service, or you built a business for educating people who are marginalized, refugees, because you understood their needs and what they were lacking?
I understood my needs. I knew the needs that I was having, and I knew that very many people are in the same situation as I am. And so I started the business simply to address the needs that I was having, that I had also understood that it isn't just me in this situation, but the whole other group of people and an entire community that is facing these problems. So how about helping the ones that I can help, and while helping myself as well?
Right, and identifying that problem, you obviously saw that education is one of the key social issues or needs that people who are marginalized needed. And why did you think that education is one of the things that was most needed by those people?
Well, there's a phrase that I used to hear when I was in school that would say education is the key, but I don't know the key to what. But no, I do believe that.
Yeah,
I do believe that education is very necessary, because I mean, it's from education that we learn to write, we learn to talk, we learn to speak to people. I learned to speak in front of I don't know, very many people through speaking at school, and imagine how many people wouldn't be able to like write a CV or write an application to a job because they weren't able to go in school. So it is very, very important that people get an education, that they learn something that will help them in the future, that will help them then while they are learning it, and also in the future. I think learning is very, very, very important for us, and it never ends. And yeah, we need it.
Right, right. What benefits have you seen? What do you think are the benefits of being a social entrepreneur?
Well, the benefits of being a social entrepreneur is one, you as a social entrepreneur, I have found it possible for me and first my family, then my friends to benefit from what I am doing. If I'm educating other 10 children within the community, and I'm also educating maybe my little sister and my little brother and all that, and making it possible for them. Maybe it wouldn't have been possible for them to attain their education, but it's possible now because I'm doing it, and then I'm inspiring someone else to also do the same. And by the end of it all, development happens in a community without even trying hard,
Right.
because I've inspired someone to do good, I've done good, and then inspired someone to do good, and then it all creates like blast of development within the community.
Right, right. Like a ripple effect. Yes.
Exactly.
And have you found any disadvantages so far, maybe difficulties in running a social enterprise? Because it's not the easiest business to run, especially when it comes to financing and building the entire business. Could you tell me a little bit more about some challenges that you faced in running Yida?
Well, like you said, there are very many challenges in the area of financing. Most especially because you're literally just budgeting from someone else's pocket. You don't have the actual cash with you, you don't have the actual finances with you to be able to run the programs that you have set apart. So the challenge is being able to get the funding and being able to be sustainable with that, convincing someone that, what, I'm doing this and it is this good and it's going to be this good for this long. Yeah, so that's basically the challenge of running a social enterprise.
Right, right. And how have you learned to position yourself in a way that you attract the level of investment or the level of help that you need in order to run your enterprise fully?
Mainly focusing on expanding, or should I call it expanding, or making my solution even nicer, and in a way that it helps more people, in a way that it helps a bigger range of people. I mean, very many more people within my community, in a way that it is addressing a problem that is actually existing. Because
Right.
there are so many people out there who want to help out,
Right.
and they need to know how many people is this facing this problem, and how can we help them. And then I'm presenting the solution, and they are able to like support me with that.
Right, right. Like providing a real problem that's there. Right, right. So how has your understanding of entrepreneurship changed since your journey started and to date?
Well, like I said, from the beginning, I didn't know it was entrepreneurship. I just
Right.
wanted to solve a particular problem, and as I grew as a person and as I grew as an organization, I have learned very many things about entrepreneurship. It's a struggle. It's sometimes it is fun, sometimes it is hard, sometimes you raise the funds, sometimes you're on your toes and you're crossing your fingers that the next year would start with at least some shillings in the bank. So, and I've learned to not procrastinate. I've learned to also think sustainably about the business. Yeah.
Right, right. And you had no formal training when you were starting. I think it brings us back to the question that I asked you earlier, into like, how did you gather the courage for nothing to starting this school? Now, do you think more entrepreneurs should take a leap of faith into pursuing what they actually want, into solving the problems in their communities, instead of waiting to be ready, instead of attaining, let's say, a certain level of education that normally society would expect you to have in order for you to run a business, in order for you to cause substantial change in your community? Yeah.
Well, I think any entrepreneur just needs to start. Just
Right.
start. You know, if this politician was saying, if I can did it, you can also did it. I mean, if you can do it, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. You know, just, you won't know that you won't be able to do it if you haven't started, if you haven't tried. I think I would rather keep trying than just failing to try, than just not trying at all. So and that's the advice I would give to them. That's the thing I would tell them. Just start and see how it goes, and I'm very sure it will pay off. Yeah.
Right. I think that's something that I would have benefited from in my very, very early years of being an entrepreneur. I don't know if I can say very early years because I'm still 23. Yeah, it's just gathering the courage to actually pursue what you want to do and not waiting until you are fully ready, because you will never ever be ready, and there will never ever be a time that's perfect for you to start. Right. So what did you notice in the schooling system that you wanted to change in Yida? What is different about your curricula? What about it is more beneficial to your students?
So previously we had so for the primary and lower primary, I mean like primary school and nursery school or kindergarten within my community, if you went to one school, you'd find that the class has about 300 children and about 6 children on one desk, and some sitting and some standing, and and it's almost impossible, actually impossible, for all those children to attain a quality education, for them to be able to learn properly and understand what the teacher is giving them. So we decided we would have a school that would teach the children in a way that that there is no child that is left behind. So we have very few children that are being monitored by a teacher. So we give each teacher very few children to monitor and teach. And yeah, that's how different it is. But otherwise, we integrate them into the system, most of them being refugees and having come from different systems, different education systems. We integrate them in the system, and we make sure that our teachers and the caregivers that attend to them are able to communicate with them. They're able to speak the same language while also teaching them in the language that is spoken in Uganda, which is English. Yeah.
Okay, that is interesting, and that is something that I picked up in your video. I think there's a part where you said you wanted to, one of the main reasons you formed your school was so the children and the refugees could be communicated to in a language that they understood, right? And that's something that's very powerful. And what has that been like? How has it been like working with young people? As a young mother myself, I can't even teach my son a couple of things without completely losing my mind. And I just wonder how much strength it takes, how much dedication, how much effort it really takes to teach young people. How has that been like?
Well, first of all, the children are very, very adorable. It's very great. It's playing with them, singing songs with them. And, the things they learn are not like chemistry, biology, and physics. It's learning through songs, learning about colors, about counting and all that. And again, it's not me alone who has been able to manage this. It's the whole community of teachers, of parents who have made it possible for us to be here right now. The teachers who are very resilient, who come from class at midday, and then they're feeling a headache, and then they go back home, and then they prepare a plan for tomorrow again, and then they go to class, and then they have to shout with the kids and play with them, and scream with them, and then have a headache the next day again.
Yeah.
It's that resilience and the power from the teachers, the parents, that has helped us go through all this, and we're still going.
Right, and that's really powerful. How do you build a team that's that dedicated? I think one of the struggles that I have had as an entrepreneur is finding people who have passion about what you're doing, the way you do, the same way that you do. How do you go about, how do you formulate, how do you mold your team into being that dedicated to the mission?
So what I think has helped us is that our team, or most of our teachers and other members of staff, are from within the same community. So when they're dealing with these children, they know these children are their neighbors, or these parents are their neighbors and their friends, maybe sisters and brothers and all that. So they are committed. And also us listening to what their needs are and trying to solve their needs that they have with them making suggestions of what we should do, and us also advising here and there. And yeah, basically that's it.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. And you mentioned that you expanded from a nursery school to primary school. And how did that go? How did the expansion go?
Well, it's still ongoing, because we started thinking about expanding to primary school when the parents were telling us that their children come from the nursery section, and then they go back to the schools where they are unable, they're going to back to not understanding what they're being taught in class. So how can we help them come from the nursery section to the primary section? And then we had our first class that we tried out, and then we had our second, and then we are going to have our third. So what we did was we're taking it though to keep learning each year, have one class each year, and be able to learn from the process to see how best we can serve our community.
Right. Okay, that's pretty interesting. And what has been the most challenging aspect about running a nonprofit? I think this takes us back a little bit, but I want you to tell me a little bit more about this, especially in relation to your expansion. Is it a little bit more difficult to expand or to scale a business when it's a nonprofit, as opposed to if it was a for-profit enterprise?
Well, I would say I don't think I'm able to compare the two, but right. I think expansion in any way is difficult. Right. You have to take chances. You have to just do it and see what happens. Maybe I would assume that for a profit making business, they would be having the money to be able to expand. But for a nonprofit, what if you don't have the money? Will you stay in the same place, or will you try maybe and see what happens? Will you keep on fundraising and while expanding in the process, fundraising while expanding? So right. That's what has happened. We still haven't, I can't say that we have funding very ready for us to do all the things that we need to do, but we keep fundraising, and we are very grateful that we are able to convince some people, and some people are believing in what we are doing, and I think that is why we are here, and they keep supporting us.
Right. See, you have a very strong sense of social responsibility. You have a soft spot for people that are marginalized and refugees. And I just want to know what that has taught you about running a business. How have you managed to effectively run your business, or run your business better, as somebody with such a strong sense of social responsibility, especially in relation, having such a close relation to the cause of your business? Yes.
Yeah, well, I do care about the community a lot, and I do care about what problems we are facing as a community, because if the community is facing a problem, I am a part of that community and also facing the same. So, and it has helped me to keep refining the solutions to the problems that we are facing. You know, the problem today might be looking a certain way, and then tomorrow it changes shape, and it keeps me, so having that strong sense of social responsibility keeps me updated and always looking at refining my idea, refining the solution to the problems that we are all facing as a community.
Right. And what would you say that has taught you about yourself as a person and as an entrepreneur, working with these young people and dedicating yourself to this cause?
Please say that again.
What do you think that has taught you as an entrepreneur, working with these young people and dedicating your entire life to the cause?
Well, what it has taught me is when you do something good, it always pays off. You know, it pays
Right.
off in the faces of the children that smile every time they come and they're calling me madam, madam. Every time I pass by the street and everyone is calling me madam, madam, or by the parents that keep coming to us and telling us, you know what, you've done a great job with my children. Next time, maybe when I travel to Kenya or to the US, my child will be able to translate for me when I don't understand English. So it does pay off. I have learned that, and for anyone, they should just try doing it. It pays off.
Right, right. And anybody has any questions, don't forget that you have the Q&A function, and you can just type in your question and leave it there, and I'll ask the questions at the end of the session. Yes. So Vanessa, we're just going to go back to your team. I would like to know how you vet your teachers. Like, what qualities do you look for before employing a teacher?
So one, we're in the business of employing young people.
Right.
So they have to be young, and they have to be from the community that we are living within, because we have to make sure that they are speaking the languages that the children speak, and they are speaking also the second language, which is English. And they have to be teachable, of course, trainable, because when they come to start teaching with us, they go through a training that will help them also teach the children. Yeah, and they should have had an experience at least with children or teaching children. Yeah.
Right, right. Why do you think it's important to involve people from the community in the business to really meet the social cause of your business?
Well, I mean, we solving a problem that we all face, and I don't think it would be reasonable for us to like solve a problem get a solution and hand it over to someone. You know, it's more durable, and I think more sustainable when someone participates into solving a problem themselves. They have a feel. They also get a sense of social responsibility themselves as a community, and they are able to even take up the idea. You know, God forbid, may Yida not be there some next time. The community itself is able to, you know, keep doing that, the same things that we were doing as an organization.
Right, right. I think it's something that a lot of us entrepreneurs need to learn, especially young entrepreneurs, thinking of your business beyond you and beyond Yida. Because at the end of the day, when we are running our businesses, we need to know that if we're not there, or God forbid, if your business is not running anymore, is what you're trying to root for, is your cause still going to live on? And that can be done through your workers, through the people that work with you, through your team. So that's something that's very brilliant, and I think should be championed. And why you said you introduced entrepreneurship training into your curricula? Why do you think you did that? What did you think was important about adding entrepreneurial training to your curriculum?
So the entrepreneurship training was inspired by our teachers. Like I said, we employ the youth, young people, to be our teachers and our members of staff. And in many cases, you know, we are employing them, and maybe they're earning some little money by the end of the month, and then they spend it, and then they come back, and then they earn another one, and then they spend it. And it's not sustainable, and it doesn't cultivate the spirit of self-reliance amongst the young people. So, and in the middle of the month, they would sometimes maybe come and ask for loans or something like that. And we're like, okay, if I'm to give you a loan, you should be able to tell me what good thing you're going to do with that loan that will benefit you and the rest of your family. So the teachers inspired us to have the entrepreneurship trainings, to be able to teach them and other young people to have, you know, to save up, to make businesses or to refine their business ideas and be able to employ other people also, because I mean, we can't employ everyone.
Right, and that's actually an interesting model. So aside from the teachers who you help start and run businesses, you also have entrepreneurship training for the young children as well.
Oh yeah, well, the young children, it's only entrepreneurship during when they are in the primary section. For the little kids, not yet. But for the primary going children, I think it is a good thing that I think it's something that I would have loved to learn when I was younger, to be able to know how to manage my money and how to maybe save up, how to make my money grow, and even if it is like 100 shillings, to be able to make that money grow into 1,000 shillings as a child. So I think it is important, even when they may not take that path, but at least, well, what if they take it and they don't have skills, you know?
Right. Speaking of that, are you able to share with us a little bit about your funding journey? Like how, well, I understand that your business is a nonprofit, but how would you say you have been able to get here? Are you able to shed a little bit of light on your funding journey and how exactly you have managed to attain the level of success you have?
Well, our funding journey hasn't been very easy, I should say. And like I was saying, it's about making sure that we convince someone that you know, this is a very viable solution to this problem, to this very big problem. And yeah, we've managed to get some people on board, and then they support us, and thank them very much. But also we've also managed to get here through partnerships, you know, getting people who want to do the same thing, and then we come together and do, you know, have our resources, to pool our resources together, and then move on together. So we've managed to reach here because of partnerships and people that have believed in us and supported us, but also in having income generating activities that would help us also run the organization.
Okay, right. How do you vet your sponsors? Like how do you assess and say, oh, this is a potential partner, and this is somebody that will, or is an organization who fits our organizational portfolio, and let's try and pursue a partnership with them? What is your criteria? How do you usually vet that?
Well, in many cases, we will have to see whether our goals or our objectives and our visions align, or in some way similar to ours. And when we find that those they have similar objectives as us, we able to bring them on board, because, you know, we need collaboration to be able to reach far. Yeah.
Right. And have you had any methods that you've used, for example, any fundraising methods, additional fundraising, except from sponsorship, that you've used to build funding for your business?
Yeah, well, like crowdfunding, fundraising, maybe from the community, telling them what we are doing and how it benefits them and how they can make it even more beneficial to them. So the community has greatly contributed, like the local community where I am right now has greatly contributed, and they've also contributed towards the learning. For every parent that we have, they contribute some little money and some bit of food for the children while they're here, and that's how we've been able to.
Right. So you have worked with a couple of investors, or you've written to a couple of investors and potential partners. What would you say are some key characteristics that investors are usually looking for? Like, how does an entrepreneur usually position themselves for success in relation to trying to get an investor, trying to get a partnership?
Well, like I said, is what many investors or donors or grant givers whom we have approached, what they're looking at is, are you solving an actual problem? And how many people is the problem? Are people facing that problem? Are they two only within like the entire community, or is it like thousands and thousands of people within the community? And your solution, is it scalable? Is it something that is going to take to happen today, tomorrow, and next year, and the other years to come? And how, after, maybe if it is a one-off grant or investment, how are you going to make sure that you keep running the organization after the funder has gone? I think that's mostly what they have asked us. Yeah.
Right. And managing those finances, how do you and your co-founder, how do you know that how do you make sure that you're managing your money responsibly? How do you plan? How do you spread your finances? How do you prioritize?
Well, what helps us is making the annual plan every year, and then also putting it in small sections as quarterly plan, and then monthly plan, and then weekly plan. I don't think we have had daily plans, but that's maybe for an individual. But the planning is key to how we are able to manage our finances. But also bringing someone in, getting someone to come and look at what we are doing, like maybe an auditing company or a mentor to come and look at what we are doing, to be able to help us and maybe keep us in check, to tell us, okay, you're doing this right and you're doing this wrong, so maybe you need to change this and improve this, like that.
Right. And that's always something key, to have somebody, an external eye, look at your finances and what you're doing, kind of like an occasional audit, so that you're on the right track and you're not holding yourself accountable. Even though self-accountability is key, it's always great for somebody else to hold you accountable, because it heightens your sense of responsibility. And tell me, have you had any bad experiences with an investor? And if so, what exactly was that experience?
Well, I wouldn't call it a very bad experience. I can say maybe a little bit of a challenge sometimes, you know. There are times when you're being funded, and then the investor or the person who's giving you the funding wants you to do things that align with their own vision, but not your vision. Or in the beginning, it was what you agreed upon is no longer what we are doing, you know. But then you're unable to call them out, because you know they're funding you. Yeah, so basically that's the only challenge
that you've had. Right. Okay, I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs would find difficult. And what do you think investors should do more of, especially investors working with very young entrepreneurs?
For young entrepreneurs, I have found that very many investors have a fear to invest in the young entrepreneurs, because they'll be like, okay, how scalable is this solution? Which skills do these people have? Which competency does this organization or does this business have, or does the team have to carry on this solution, or to carry on this business? You know, and they're unable to understand or to believe that they are going to get value for their money. So I think what I can say to investors is try us and see.
Right. And what key 3 things about your journey would you like to, what key 3 lessons rather would you give to a young entrepreneur, especially a young social entrepreneur, about running a social enterprise?
One, I can say, do not start a social enterprise thinking you're going to I already said this, don't start a social enterprise thinking that today I've started and I have the name and tomorrow I'm going to get my 10,000 US dollar funding from, I don't know whom I've seen on the internet, you know? So it has to be, you have to be very patient, very resilient, and build your solution in a way that is very attractive to the funders.
Right. Except from showing funders that you are solving an actual problem, would you say there are any other key things that you would advise other social entrepreneurs to place in their pitch, to place in their story in representing themselves, not only to investors, but to the world? Yeah.
Well, I think when someone decides to go into a social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, I think they need to be able to know the problem that they are facing. I mean, that the problem that they are solving very, very deeply and very, very well. And I think it's always maybe nicer or better that when you're passionate about solving that particular problem, that in a way that if I had to pitch about something that I'm very passionate about, I don't have to try so hard to say it out or to explain to someone how it is important for me to address the problem. Yeah.
Right. And in your story, speaking of telling your story, you mentioned that you want to educate, your goal is to ultimately educate over 10,000 children. And do you have a plan or a strategy that you put in place in order to achieve your goal?
Yes, so every year we have a different, we have an increase in the number of the children that we have in our schools. And every year we look at expanding from one location to another. And I think that's a strategy that will allow us to cover as many children as we can. And yeah, we have a particular number of children that we need to educate within a year, and every year it increases.
Right. So I want to hear from you. How exactly would you define empowerment?
Well, empowerment is, I think the way I would define it is allowing anyone to be confident, to believe in themselves, to believe in what they are doing, in who they are, and to be able to bring up their voice to be heard. Yeah.
Right. And how would you finish the sentence? A social entrepreneur is
a change maker.
A change maker. Okay, that was flawless. A social entrepreneur is a change maker. You hear that, everybody? From today on, that's going to be my definition of a social entrepreneur. Your story is completely amazing and your work even better. And I've had an amazing time talking to you, and I hope our audience has. So as a reminder again, if you have any questions for Vanessa, please drop them into your Q&A section. And this is your chance to interact with Vanessa, and I will read the questions out loud to Vanessa. Right. So I'm sorry, I'm using my phone, so I'm just gonna turn my phone a little bit here so I can read some of these comments. There aren't many questions here, Vanessa, but there are a couple of comments from people. And Tukoza says, Vanessa, thank you for sharing your journey. Financial team and management are critical to building a scalable model. What struggles and/or successes have you had with these functions?
Say that again, please. Repeat it.
Right. What struggles and success have you had? Okay, sorry, let me just read the whole entire thing. So she says, Vanessa, thank you for sharing your journey. Financial and team management are critical to building a scalable model. What struggles and or successes have you had with these functions?
Well, with the team, first of all, the struggles we've had, like any other entrepreneur, like Gondrani, you were saying yourself, that it's hard to find the right team. But with time, when you, it was hard in the beginning for us to identify what it is that we need to put in place for us to be able to have a strong team that we shall work with, a team that is dedicated. But with time, we learned to listen to their needs as a team, and to share with them what we think can work, and also to listen from them mostly what they think can work, and also to listen to their ideas of what they think we need to put in place for us to achieve. I mean, sharing a vision with them, our vision with them, and then listening to their ideas of what they think can be done for us to reach our goals.
Right, right. And here's another one. Says, Vanessa, I'm sure you've had many proud moments. Is there one that stands out, and why?
Well, my one very proud moment is when I got the Social Impact Award from the Anzisha Prize in 2019. It sounds out because, I mean, like, I could have stood, I stood on that stage while getting my my trophy and my award, and I looked 2 years back, and I didn't think I would be in that position. I didn't imagine in by any means that I would be winning the Social Impact Award, but it all is thanks to the work that that we are doing as an organization, and also thanks to the community that is supporting us.
Right, right. And Nolizwe asks here, what 3 key things have you implemented in pitching or telling the story of Yida to get people to believe in the venture that resulted in you receiving funding?
I have learned that people will always fund mostly why you're doing something, you know. And like I was saying, the story has, like I was saying about that knowing the solution, I mean, having a viable solution, having a solution that is strong enough to convince someone, also knowing very well the problem, and also why are you addressing this particular problem? Why you, and why do you think you are the right person to address this problem?
Right, right. And Festo here says, Vanessa, which advice can you give to girls and women to be more successful in business?
One, be confident you can do it. For any girl out there, if, like I said, if I can do it, any other person is you know, able to also do it. They shouldn't fear that they maybe I'm a girl, or I'm not strong enough, or maybe I am not tall enough or big enough, or maybe I'm not ready enough, or maybe someone else did it because they had money in the beginning, or maybe because they had parents in the beginning and stuff like that. So you'll never know until you start. You never know how strong you are until you're faced with, you know, a problem that will need you to like show your strength.
Right, right. You hear the girls, confidence is the answer, and with your confidence you can achieve anything and everything. And here George is asking you, Vanessa, how best can I join you to bring your idea to my country, and where do you see your skills in the next 10 years?
Well, how to join us? I think someone shared already our website in the chats. Someone who is helping me has already shared our website in the chat. You can really get involved with us. There is a section that is get involved. You can intern with us. You can be a partner. You can be, you know, a collaborator or something like that. And my skills in 10 years, well, I hope I'm hoping and I'm trying to make sure that by the time the 10 years elapse, I am able to even inspire a bigger number of people. I am even able to inspire a bigger number of young people to also do the same thing, or even to do greater things than what I have done. And I'm hoping that I would have already inspired a number of them, and that I would be seeing fruits of what will have come out of that. Yeah.
Okay, so we're just going to take one more question, and this says, Vanessa, congratulations on a remarkable initiative on your part. Tell me, given that education is an important component of your entrepreneurship, what do you consider to be relevant education in the context of the needs of the community? In other words, how is it linked to and promotes community development?
Thank you very much. That's not a so easy question to answer, but I believe what's important in education, one, if we are able to learn how to communicate, like what I'm doing right now, I hope I'm communicating enough. If we're able to learn how to communicate, and that's what we are trying to do with our children, cutting them from a system where they are unable to communicate, maybe because it was in French and now they're in an English system. If we are there, they're able to communicate, then they're able to get to solving problems, to get to maybe earning a living, to get to getting a job in the future, to get to maybe get a high score in class, you know. And also education, okay, communication, and also I believe in entrepreneurship again. You know, for every person to have an entrepreneurship skill within their life, to be able to know how to grow. Entrepreneurship makes you grow as a person, and also makes you grow as an employee, as an employer, and as maybe a business person. And I think that will help us develop, because through entrepreneurship, people are able to start businesses and employ others, and others learn from those businesses and employ others, like, you know, the ripple effect that you were saying.
Right, right. And the very last question, the journey to success is littered with failure or mistakes. Is there an example of failure or mistake that you look back on now and are grateful for, and why?
The mistakes that I can say I look at that I've made in the past, I'll say they're still within finances. You know, there are times when we had money and then we just used it, and then by the end of the year we are unable to really like find out where did this money go. Okay, we know the activities we did, they are very visible, but can I account it? I mean, I account for it in terms of numbers. If someone came for a report, would I have a clear report? And I have learned from that, I think, the hard way, because in many cases when we are fundraising, or when we are writing a grant proposal, we need to have our funding, you know, I mean, our finances in check. We need to present a very, very clear financial statement, you know, and that has been a challenge, but which is being solved slowly. Yeah.
Yes, and that's very relatable. That's something that I can relate to as an entrepreneur, and that's one of the things I love most about chatting with Vanessa, is I can have an honest conversation about my entrepreneurial journey, because sometimes as an entrepreneur you have these funds stocked aside and you didn't misuse them, but somehow you just like, where did all the money go? And you have to go back to your books and do your bookkeeping, and keep an eye on it and make sure it's always on the money. And Vanessa, I always enjoy learning from you and having an honest conversation with you, and it's been absolutely amazing. The work that you're doing with Yida is phenomenal, and I hope you continue doing that work, and I can't wait to see what you will grow into in the next 5 to 10 years. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of It Starts With You. We're just going to conclude the episode today. Don't forget to join our next live. You'll be communicated to via email, and don't forget to share the stories of these amazing entrepreneurs. Share on your Instagram, on your Facebook. Let's spread the stories. Let's create the ripple effect, as Vanessa likes to create, and create more entrepreneurs through these stories. And thank you so much, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye.